Hey, I was hoping you could help me out. I'm trying to get some sleep, but it sounds like there's a real party in the room next door raging. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Hey, I called a few minutes ago, and you said you would take care of that thing with the party next door. All right, yeah, great. Thanks. Hey, look, it's the third time I'm calling. I'm really wiped out. A what? They want me to come by? Room 1022? Cool, thanks.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. This is your leader here, Glenn Hausman. How are you guys today? I hope all is well. So I'm coming at you from the Hotel Indigo in downtown Los Angeles. And before I introduce my special guest for today, I have to remind you guys, come on, follow me at Traveling Glenn, sign up for the newsletter, and share it with your friends. And also, I want to thank my good friends at Porcelanosa, who are introducing a new seedwood collection. It's paying tribute to sophisticated craftsmanship with its high quality and beauty. Seedwood is a wood-look porcelain. Now, how cool is that? A different type of material that you haven't seen before. Check it out. If you see my newsletter this weekend, there's a big event happening in New York that you could attend. All right, enough of the business. Now on to the fun. I got the one, the only Mr. Bruce Ford of Lodging Econometrics with me, of course, today.
Happy June, G.
And I'm very delighted to have you may have heard on a special show who's got a new life, a new role, lots of new look, a new everything. Mr. Craig Sullivan, Chief Development Officer with Broughton Hotels. Hello, sir.
Hello, and thank you. Bruce, Glenn, it's great to see you guys.
This is exciting. A big departure for you, developing hotels now officially for somebody.
Officially, yeah. It's a big departure. It was tough to leave Park West, but Larry made an offer to me, Larry Broughton and the team. It's an incredible group of people that specialize in the boutique lifestyle sector, and they brought me in for third-party management and debt and equity and to develop some hotel assets.
Nice. I got to say, that is impressive, but what's more impressive to me is I didn't even have to ask you for the plugs. You just got right in, explained the company and all.
Well, he's well-versed. He has his own podcast now, Glenn.
Yes. Well, you have a radio show here in Southern California?
I do. It's called Check Out California, your key to California hospitality. So it's hotels, travel into California. It's about the hotel market in general in California. We've brought in brokers, development teams. We're bringing in the brands and various other people, and hopefully I can have you guys on that show soon.
Well, I hope so, because we like to plug the No Vacancy podcast wherever we can. How can people hear you?
They can find us at octalkradio.net and also at the octalkradio.net YouTube page, and we have a Checkout California Facebook page. The website is still under construction, and also want to mention you guys are both sponsors of the California Lodging Investment Conference.
Yes, which we've talked about here on the show. Good event, a lot of fun. Man, you are up to a whole lot, Craig. How are you going to have time to develop hotels?
That's first and foremost. I have to do that. That pays the bills. So everything else is a labor of love, and I just think I had too much free time on my hands.
Right.
So. The best I ever did in my life is when I was the busiest. So oftentimes you have to find the things that you love doing, and you seem to have created a pretty good collection of stuff there, Craig. So congratulations. Thank you. I think so, and it's just been tremendous, and you guys helped out so much earlier this year with the Click Conference, and we're in the planning stages of the second one, which will be on March 8th down in Orange County. And I'm hoping both of you can be there. Glenn will be moderating a panel again.
We'll be there, and we're going to be broadcasting live from there. So that's
right.
Going to be exciting next March.
No Vacancy at Click,
Yep.
March 8th, 2018. Fabulous. Well, hopefully we'll be talking about occupancy and RevPAR still in good shape as it continues to click along, shall we say. I hope so. In the hotel industry, we're in quite a revival of really good times in the industry, and we still seem to be not as much affected by the events of last November as we thought we might be today, 7-8 months later.
No, which is interesting because we had that conversation. If you check out the broadcast we did 3 weeks ago, I believe, from the NYU conference, there doesn't seem to be any demonstrable dip in travel that we were worried about with this so-called travel ban kerfuffle that was happening out there. So that's really good. So right now, smooth sailing, and everyone's pretty happy. How's the California lodging community?
Yeah, the California lodging community is doing great. We've sales are down probably about 35%, where I think the national average property sales of hotels is probably down about 35%, and I think nationally we're at 52%, somewhere in that range. But occupancy is holding strong. Average daily rate is climbing, so we're in a good market right now.
I've met a few owners before who have been willing to go over the top on their operating performance before they actually sell the real estate. So I think some people are looking at maybe it's going to be good for 2 more years. So
I feel like
unless you're going to give me 15% more, I'm going to catch that revenue.
I feel like there are people that have been waiting to sell since the last downturn.
Right. Yeah, they are. They always overprice themselves and they never get their property sold, and they just keep hanging on. But
I'm a seller at a price.
Yeah.
And we might be in that market right now, for sure.
I agree.
And, when you look outside of where we are in downtown Los Angeles, you can see quite a number of hotels and residential developments within sight of where we are. And one of the things that I think is key out there right now is in downtown L.A., it's such a change from just 5 years ago in terms of hotels and hospitality in downtown. So ease into it, boys. No need to rush.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the whole dichotomy of the business is you have the great operating side of it, but then if there's too much development, then that kind of kills the operating side. Yeah. So both, they're almost diametrically opposed forces that have to be in perfect alignment all of the time, and I think we've had that, which has been really nice. And Bruce, you've been reporting a moderate growth pipeline that is not near the peak of the last cycle that we had.
That's right. We're within 500 projects of the last peak, but we're still 160,000 rooms behind the last peak, and that's mostly because we're building smaller, more efficient hotels, and certainly down the chain scales too. There's less full-service development, more select service development. This would be certainly the Hotel Indigo would qualify as that, as would the Courtyard and Residence Inn here in downtown L.A., but L.A. on its own has the most rooms under construction of any track in the state of California right now. And that's mostly because of the 900-room Intercontinental that has still not opened yet.
No, but we are here at the brand new-ish Hotel Indigo downtown.
60 days is still new, Glenn.
Yes.
It still smells new in the room.
It does. Still smell the paint.
Yeah, right? It's fun to be here because during the Alice conference, that was in January here in downtown L.A., I had the opportunity to do a hard hat tour of this property and the Intercontinental, so it's fun to see this one now coming to life and experiencing it. And I had some great bacon-wrapped dates, so it's a great hotel.
Bacon-wrapped dates. Very nice. How Indy Jones of you.
Right.
Super fab. So we're also here to do the Hotel ROI event, Glenn, with our friends and your friends. And,
that's right.
I get to speak tomorrow, do a keynote address on Southern California lodging, and I think much of what I'm going to have to say is the development wave is coming. Catch the fever.
Right. I would argue, though, that you've already said it, because by the time this airs, we'll be on an airplane going home.
Well, that's
or
fair enough to say. Or you come
down to my house for a beach and barbecue.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, we'll get the clicks, shall we say, right? But also, one of the things we found out in Southern California that I think is compelling is it's actually one of the hot areas for the dual branded developments as well, as we're seeing a lot of those with the extended stay and the otherwise select service going in together. This is one of the hot areas for that in an urban center. We're seeing more than a few of those right now.
I think you're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, go for it.
You've seen this as well, Glenn, but the economies of scale, the cost of real estate, the cost of development here in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. And you look at San Francisco proper, it's over $1 million a key to build a hotel. Yeah. So how do you get that to pencil out?
Yeah. Well, I think in the select service world, these dual branded concepts are making it happen because you save so much on the economy of scale. A full service hotel, every 100 rooms needs what was it, 200 employees for every 100 rooms type of thing?
Correct.
In a full-service hotel versus a select-service hotel, you have like 15, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's a vastly different model.
Well, I've been saying hotels like this at the Indigo, for years I've been calling these quasi-full-service hotels because they've got a nice food and beverage program, they have meeting space, but they don't seem burdened by having the vast amount of employees.
Well, they have some quick service options in the lobby, as you saw, Glenn, like grab and go kind of option, but yet they have what you would probably consider to be more of a bar of substance, if you will, versus the kind of thing they're doing at the Courtyard Bistro with 4 or 5 stools. I think that one had 14 or 16 stools.
Yeah, it was right in that range. Yeah.
And, which is larger. And, of course, we were talking about Intercontinental today and then talking about their new food and beverage concept for the Holiday Inn, and then they were also announcing a lot of things out at their conference this week. Right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the big news is going to be a new brand that they feel will not compete with any of the other brands that they have. So I love that term, swim lanes now. Everyone loves it, is adopting it. All these brands kind of fit in a specific swim lane. The idea is that it's going to be moderately priced. It's for people that are going to be out and about for most of the day, so they seem to be having that research that shows that this particular group of clientele is into the smaller room idea, not really a lot of, they're going to be focused highly on the sleep experience because that's what they care about most, and the bathroom, and that's pretty much it. I think to nuts and bolts, people just want to sleep and go on with their lives.
It's certain that what they're trying to do will all come down to development cost because IHG wants to do this brand, obviously, mostly new construction.
Well, in the press conference that I was at, they're talking a national brand, 200, 300, 400, 500. I mean, big time. So it's going to be interesting to see that play out. So you were saying, Bruce, sorry.
Yeah, well, obviously they're shooting for more than 200 locations with this brand.
Well, yeah.
Okay, the goal is, I would say that, IHG wants to have another 1,000 location brand.
This is
at minimum. They don't have another one today other than Express.
It's 50% less than Holiday Inn Express. To me,
15. You said
15%. $85,000 to $90,000 a key development cost, and I think to put this into an analogy, I believe that Holiday Inn Express is to Hampton as true as to this new IHG brand.
Well, that would be good swim lane to be in, I guess, if you want to say that. That's where they would both trying to be doing it. And the question is that how many guys fit in that lane that can swim at the same time? So, of course, Marriott's been relaunching the Fairfield for quite a while, which would be playing in a similar space there, I would think. And and also, Moxie's actually upper mid-scale. Okay, so, it came out at first on the of course, when they launched it, you remember, it was economy. It came out economy.
Right.
And now it's actually ended up in upper mid-scale.
They all seem to slip upwards. Craig, why do the industry is so caught up with all of these categorical terms when consumers just don't care?
It must have been a focus group somewhere, okay? Several of them, in fact. I've got no answer for you on that question. But
it just seems like Greek sometimes. We're going to end up with these sub-chain scales, just like we have with extended stay, where we have upper, middle, and lower tier. We're going to end up with boutique, upper, middle, and lower tier. And then we're going to end up with select service with another chain scale because it will not be long before the upper mid-scale chain scale is going to have 1 million guest rooms, which will be the most of any of the other chain scales by far, and that's what led to the initial breakup of upscale, was because there's all those brands in there. That's what ended up with the break. So they want them all to be not necessarily metered, if you will, but more systematic.
It seems like there's so many different categories now that we're really talking about $5 increments, not real definitive categories.
Right. It's not a 20 or plus increment. But I think one of the interesting questions is, why are we catering so much to millennials right now? The rooms that we're building for them, is there a shorter lifespan for them? A shorter lifespan for that particular part of the swim lane that is coming out? What they want today, a smaller room, an economy stay, let's say, to a degree, Well, that's not where they're going to be in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I've been saying this over the last couple of years that all of a sudden when the chain is built out, using True as an example, in 10 years from now, they're going to be wondering, why is my room doesn't have a bathtub because I need to bathe my toddlers, right?
Exactly.
So I think either they're not thinking of it or everyone's banking on the 20-something customer is going to be interested in these kind of hotels because they have different needs and less income. At least that's the best case scenario I can think of.
Well, I mean, if you're, I told you many years ago, Glenn, right? Fly one airline, accumulate all your information and all your...
And you did. Thankfully, that's why I'm platinum status now.
So...
With United?
No, Delta. No, I have black and blue status, the United.
So then when it comes to hotels, will we truly fall in the Hilton family or the Marriott family? Or are consumers really thinking differently than us as hotel people, consumers at the same time? You would never be able to say, Craig, that, I stayed all my nights at Marriott last year because it just never works out that way.
Correct.
Okay, and you might make your choice for where you're putting your business and leisure dollars in majority or in, in that kind of situation. But I wonder if you are, can be Hilton loyal if in, 10 years we'll be saying, well, Hilton has something at every single price point and their consumers like that because if they want the full service vacation resort, they got it. And if they want the budget, brand, $69 a night, they got it, and everywhere in the middle, and they're satisfied with that. Airlines have certainly tried to do it with, the full service, west to east coast and making that exclusive versus the budget airline where you can pay for your bag and you can pay for your aisle seat and all that type of stuff. There's more of that fragmentation. It's just not familiar to us as hotel veterans. Okay, because when you used to build hotels 30 years ago, Craig, it was make the room as big as we possibly can because you never know what it's going to need to be some other point in its life.
Exactly.
And the bigger the room, the easier the conversion.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
They don't think that way today.
No, they don't. It's the economies of scale have changed. The room size has changed. It's going to continue to change and evolve. And the amenities package. You look at what I don't think Moxie offers an iron and an ironing board anymore. They've got a community iron center downstairs.
Yep.
That's going to be a little awkward if I'm down there, in underwear.
Right. I've just figured that. I go down there in my boxers and a T-shirt, and I want to press the shirt and pants. It's not comfortable.
I hate going down for the cup of coffee in the morning in the itty-bitty tiny cup that I have to take 5 of them and balance them up to my room.
Well, let's make a rule then. At your hotels in the future, Glenn, pajamas are only allowed in the breakfast room.
Right. That's actually going to be IHG's next brand.
Okay.
the pajama room.
Yes, there we go.
Put a big TV in, put surround sound, put some yoga bows in there or something like that. We're good, right?
I think we're onto something.
We just watch movies.
They tried to do that.
They tried to do that with Staybridge Suites a number of years ago. Yeah. They had that community family room, which was really built around having an awesome television with movie capability in it. And it didn't. It was somewhat useful, but it didn't permeate throughout the brand. It got into I think I still see it in 5 or 10 different ones I've been to. Yeah. But, different things, extended stay, barbecues outside and, TV rooms and things like that. I mean, I've never been a guy that stayed at a hotel for more than, maybe 10 days at a time.
Right.
But there are definitely people, contractors alike and otherwise, that stay for 30, 60, 90 days. And it's got to feel a little bit more than the Hampton Inn at that point, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, and that's why we saw the rise of the extended stay hotels, and I think now the service apartment business is going to really start to take off and mature as well. It's interesting to me how the hospitality industry, like everything else in our abundant culture, is becoming more and more fractured, as you were saying, more niche products for smaller and smaller slivers of audience. We saw it in the 500-channel TV universe, and now we're experiencing it in our hotel universe as well. I think there are about 500 new brands introduced this year, right, Bruce?
462.
To be exact.
Yeah.
But, yes, but we are in, but it's that time in the cycle. I mean, we could go back and look in the 90s. We saw the same thing happen, with a number of brands, and we're seeing it again. We had 2 shortened, stilted cycles in the last 2, but... one thing that I also think is interesting is the kind of movement to build to demand. So One thing you have with all the construction that's happening out at LaGuardia and JFK, Glenn, we're having a rat race to find out who's going to get the hotels open first.
Right.
Because, again, that temporary housing, extended stay kind of thing is a thing. I mean, when they were fracking up in the Dakotas, they built a number of hotels up there now. Now that it's all slowed down, they're not worth anything. So, and they're beat to heck, because you got miners and everything in there that are just, kind of making it dirty.
Not clean because
they're
of the
not,
job.
No, they're not. I mean, but you see that in a lot of places. And I noticed a place, I stayed at Seattle Airport last night, and, I was down at breakfast this morning early because I was East Coast to West Coast. But probably 15 contractors in the hotel that were there, working for the week or working for a couple of weeks. And lots of construction in and around the hotel, these larger buildings. And that kind of makes sense in some cases rather than be in the drive. You do better having a hotel close by. And an economy extended stay has had a big push, and Woodspring Suite's one of those that's really moving
Woodspring's
fast.
very interesting. I like their model a lot. You've got 5 employees. It's
a lot of times the guy lives there, right?
Right, yeah, and I met with their franchise development guy the other day, and it's really an interesting product. Now you look at California, you look at real estate costs, and you look at development costs here. Could be a tough sell in Los Angeles, but Bakersfield, maybe not so much. But there again, if you look at the last cycle and the downturn. The hotels that went back to the lenders were all select service, or they were smaller full service with inadequate meeting space.
Right.
Because you got Occidental Oil, you got Standard Oil, and the rest of them out there, and they're flying in huge numbers of people for training all the time. But that was also when oil was, I think, at $60 to $80 a barrel.
Right.
It's at 45 right now, so I'm not sure how much trading they're doing.
Well, that's the other thing you've seen with these select service urban center hotels is you got to have some meeting space. You got to have some meeting space in these. You got to be able to put 200 people in the ballroom.
Exactly.
And even at the airport hotel locations, you're seeing that because I've often said that one of the things that's kind of uncharted at this point is less and less people are reporting to headquarters every day.
Yeah.
Which means that I'm working for the company, but I don't office there. So as a result, that's a traveling sales force, a traveling tech force, a traveling force of whatever. They still have to get together periodically.
Yeah, exactly.
So this 8, 10, 12, 15 room block, but use a meeting space, for 2 or 3 days, that's good business for hotels.
Real good business.
Interestingly enough, when we were at the NYU conference earlier in June, it's still June, when at the beginning of the month, one of the conversations I was having with people was about airport hotels and how an airport physically at, a hotel at the airport, not getting on the shuttle van, how profitable those can be now because people are flying in from all over the country, they do a meeting, and then they go home, and it's interesting how they're not seen as a negative anymore. They've kind of made full circle.
Well, they have, and I think you're absolutely right about that. And, one of the other hotel conferences here in California has been moved from downtown L.A. over a decade ago to LAX because it really is a national event. Mm-hmm. So it is easier for everybody. If you're flying in to go to attend Meet the Money, okay?
Or if you're attending Click and you can walk across the street.
Exactly. My conference is across the street from John Wayne Airport. Yeah. So, it is advantageous to do that for those reasons. And, as much as we all like being in downtown L.A., there's some advantages to being out at the airport for people coming from the East Coast like Bruce and yourself and various others.
Well, I'm also at the point.
But I think we need a beach resort.
That's always a good thing. A beach resort's always great. If you're not at a beach resort, I don't need to be town anymore. I'm happy to be at the airport, do my business, and go home. And most of the time, the only thing I get to see anyway of the sound is out the cab window.
Well, with the new technology we have, what do we need a pool deck for? Let's just make it a pool beach on top of these hotels, and let's make the beach.
I like what you're thinking.
Why not?
W in downtown San Diego, mezzanine level, they had a beach bar.
Yeah. Why not?
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
You could totally do it.
Yeah, they imported all the sand.
With today's technology, it's very doable. Yeah. Very doable.
So, I'd be amiss if we had you here and I didn't talk to you about how you see the boutique hotel business these days, because it must be something that you see a lot of legs in if you change your whole life to go kind of be in that zone.
I do, and it's also, working with Broughton Hotels and Larry Broughton in particular, he goes back to JDV and Chip Conley and helped that space grow dramatically. And I do see a lot of legs in it. I do see the ability for us to cross over and manage soft brands. I think we bring an expertise to that side of the playing field that others don't have. And between the soft brands, between the boutiques and lifestyle and some of the independents that we're managing right now, I think it's a good time to be with Larry, and I've got a team that is just outstanding. They're not amazing me because I'm just there for 2 weeks now, because I've dealt with most of them for a period of years.
Yeah.
Their CFO, Robert Rycroft, is absolutely brilliant. And the way they look at things, the way they take charge, the way they care about the asset and the ownership and the guests is second to none. So, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of legs in this. It's fun.
So what do you think the top 2 or 3 things, and I'll answer my own question before I put it out there to talk about boutique hotels. What do you think the top 2 or 3 things you can put in a boutique hotel make it luxury? Because luxury always has been, okay, you got to do something better than what I got in my house.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what luxury is. That's when I'm willing to pay that very, very premium, okay, to enjoy it. So for many years, and what Barry Sternlicht did first was the bed. Okay? The bed was the thing. The W bed, the Westin Heavenly bed, they were amazing. I think one of the top luxury things you can do in a hotel room that you can't do at home is lighting. I think that's one of the top new things that you have. Lighting in the bathroom, lighting in the headboards, a lot of evolution, the LED functionality of that.
Well, the whole idea of putting technology in furniture.
Well, it's okay, yet you can divert from that. I was in this new Delta lounge today. I told you, it's power in every single seat. Every single seat had 2 plugs, access, USB, and 3-prong power. So you go with lighting, then you go with power. The power in the guest rooms is amazing. We're sitting at a light fixture here that's on the wall. It's got 2 plugs and USB right there. Okay, don't have to look on the floor, don't have to look for anything. But I think the third thing that we're seeing in luxury is the surfaces that you put on the floor, I think, is the next thing. Okay, and we're in a room here that's got the luxury vinyl tile in it. It's got a throw rug. The throw rug is unique in its shape. The bathroom, the tile is incandescent. It looks a little different every which way you're in the room. And I think that defines a new boutiqueness. So I'd be interested in what you guys think. Those are my 3.
Craig?
What do you think?
I agree. I think luxury, okay, it is the bed. Okay, it's also the shower or shower system.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 things people complain about the most are the beds, the showers, and lack of water pressure, and lighting. And Bruce was absolutely right. I mean, how many women have on their way out have complained about lighting in the bathroom and being able to do their makeup? How many hotels have all of us stayed in and the water pressure was absolutely horrible? And if that's your last experience in the room, okay, you're not coming back. Now, the thing that I think on the boutique lifestyle side that really separates the luxury is the experience and not having that buyer's remorse as you're crossing the parking lot to come in and being greeted. And I think it's the staff, and the staff gets to know you and they're welcoming you back. They've got a profile on you. They're helping you make selections. They're helping you get to your room. Or if you choose to use your smartphone and you just want to go check in, you've already got your room number. Here,
right.
Go for it.
So like a profile like the FBI has on me, or a different kind of...
No, not that in depth. No. It's like, do you like Coke versus Pepsi?
Right.
Sprite.
I say Coke versus heroin.
All right, so let me just pull this conversation straight out of the gutter, okay? So, Glenn, your choices on lifestyle. What makes boutique luxury? Boutique luxury. What are your top 3 things?
I don't know if it's top 3 things. I think it's just one
you
thing
can't you can't use this platonic statement that's 100,000 foot up there. You need to say 3 things.
You wouldn't do that.
I'm gonna definitely cheat though. It all comes down to how it makes me feel. If it's giving me a sense of confidence. It's giving me a sense of.
So it's a math problem to you. You're adding all of this stuff up.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything specific. The bed doesn't have to be X. The shower doesn't have to be Y. It all just has to kind of come together to make me feel really good about the decision I made to spend money at this place. And I want to walk away feeling like I want to tell everybody that they should stay there too. That's successful to me.
Man. I'm glad you got a good PR gig.
That was good. That was funny. That was funny.
I could tell you for sure. I am, on a mission over the next couple of years to really try and stay in so many different brands. I'm not. I fell in a funk for a while. I was doing the same thing as that was comfortable and all that stuff. And I've already hit in the last 4 months, 7 brands I hadn't stayed at least 10 years.
That's pretty good.
So, the goal is to keep trying to move along, experience everything so that I can really get the chain scales. Because to me, I got to know why is mid-scale, and upper mid-scale, and upscale. And
I'm not convinced anyone knows.
Well, damn it, Glenn, I'm going to answer it for you.
He will define it for us.
That's a good idea.
I will find it for you.
I think we should go on this journey with Bruce. I think that's really good, especially with me being on the development side now. I've got to see the trends and touch them, feel them. See
walking
what the
in is a
reaction
thing.
is.
Walking in is a thing. Obviously, seeing the lobby and maybe taking a guest room tour, but actually physically staying there and see who else is choosing that.
Right.
Okay. I think is also, to me, a thing. Because then you understand the demographics the hotel companies are talking about. And
right, so you want to kind of hang out in the lobby during breakfast.
Yeah, you can.
Or happy hour.
Yeah,
right, depending on the hotel.
Or I like to sit there during check-in time sometimes and see how the people are arriving at the hotel.
Exactly. People watch.
Yeah. And how are they arriving at the hotel and what a lot of the demographic of a hotel guest is based upon how and what they're looking for when they show up. Mm-hmm. Are you there at the airport because your flight's at 5 a.m. and you really just need a good night's sleep? I would tell you there are some brands that are better for that than others. Okay.
I agree with you. And all of us do that. Yeah. From time to time. We'll stay at the airport. So it's kind of
what is your interaction, with the hotel? And how do you use it? Okay, this hotel in downtown Los Angeles, if you are working, within a 4-block radius of this hotel, you're going to consume all of the consumables within that 4-block radius. It's walkable to the Staples Center. It's walkable to the LA Convention Center. It's got all of that, things you're looking for downtown, but it's kind of downtown. Are you coming to go to downtown?
Well, that and it's also beautiful. This hotel is beautiful.
Yeah.
All 3 of us are walking around, and Glenn, you were pointing out how the lighting was picking up certain colors and patterns in the carpeting in the hallways, and you feel and touch this hotel. It's unique, for a city that's unique, and we turn everything down every 5 years.
This is the largest Indigo in their collection,
and the room is really spacious and lovely, and there's nothing about this experience so far that I haven't thought was great.
That's good. Well, Craig and I are going to quit while we're ahead with you because you're still loving the experience.
Probably a good idea.
So I want to wish everybody a great summer. You can find me BFINNH on Twitter, lodgingeconometrics.com, Lodging Econometrics on LinkedIn. And no, I'm not going with Glenn on my summer vacation.
And I gotta tell you before I give Craig the final words. Man, I was just about to wrap up everything. You just felt that it was time. You've got a real good real sense of timing here, Bruce.
I've done radio in my life, Glenn.
You have, Craig. Shameless plug time, baby.
Thank you. You guys have been working together too much. I know. You can reach me at BroughtonHotels.com. There's also Click, CLIconference.com, and there's also Checkout California. And you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. So we're there.
Great. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening, and we're going to be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. And if you're like me, then I know that you love terrific art. Art that creates a sense of place. Art that tells a story of where you are. Art that adds a level of detail that you can't get anywhere else. And great folks that do this, Kevin Barry Fine Art Associates. You can find them online at kevinbarryfineart.com, and I highly encourage that you check them out. One recent project that I'm totally in love with is the Fairmont, Washington, D.C., where they created a custom project with a local artist, and they created some of this on site. They actually created a multi-dimensional wall sculpture from gold blocks, which is an abstracted map grid of the Washington, D.C. area. It's got different elevations to it and looks absolutely fantastic. It was done along with Deborah Forrest and Amanda Jackson of Forrest Perkins, which is now Perkins Eastman. And they all worked together to create this fabulous new look. So if you want to create a fabulous new look for your hotel, or if you just love great art, check out kevinbarryfineart.com or give him a call at 310-945-2655. Let him know Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, this is Glenn Hausman, and thank you again for tuning in to the No Vacancy podcast. If you're watching on video or listening to the podcast feed, I want to thank you so much for your support. I'm having an amazing time here at the AAHOA Annual Conference 2017 in San Antonio. I'm dreaming about this day being over and going to hang out down at the Riverwalk. But before I get to do that, I got a great guest with me in the studio today. I haven't spoken to him before in the No Vacancy podcast, but I'm very excited to speak with him today. That's Mr. Andy Alexander, the president of Red Roof Inn. How are you, sir?
Very good. Glad to be here. Glad to be here at AAHOA and on your podcast.
Right. So, we're at AAHOA day one as we're recording this show. You're on the big panel with all the presidents, CEOs of the brand, a group of 11 guys up on stage. What was that like?
Well, it felt a little bit like the Republican debate schedule with 11 people up there, but it was great. What was great? Did you
call people like Crooked Chris Nassetta and stuff like that?
No, I just kept saying wrong, under my breath. But no, what was really great about it was most of the topics that were discussed and were unifying,
right?
And that's unusual for when you get that kind of group up there. But there's really been, while the country has moved away from unification, this group, in terms of, working to increase brand loyalty, in terms of, working together for lobbying and PAC money and that sort of thing, to really just help the travel industry overall has been. It was great to hear.
Yeah, how do you feel about the state of the travel industry right now? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion about travel these days.
Well, what do you mean in terms of confusion?
Political confusion. I'm just trying to be as politically correct as possible, speaking to the lack of unification that you were talking about.
I gotcha. Well, I think that, for better or for worse, Red Roof Inn is not quite embroiled in that our international base of travelers. Yeah. Is limited, not non-existent, as you know, but it's limited, and I think that there's it's a bit overblown in terms of the impact, but it's not overblown in terms of the issue, and it's a discussion point. We don't stand for one side or the other here.
Of course, we stand for the side of travel.
But what we stand for is travel, and so any restrictions on travel are not good unless, of course, it's truly supporting the national security,
or unless it's supporting restrictions against other brands to allow people to stay in your brand a little bit more.
Well, that's always the case. Anything that benefits us, I'm all for.
Well, you know what? To me, Red Roof, it's one of those great American hotel brands, really iconic in that sense. A brand that I grew up with, a brand that I always felt comfortable with. And one of the things that strikes me when I see today's Red Roof and the Red Roof Plus brand is how much you can pack into a more budget-focused brand to make people feel like they're staying at more like a mid-scale brand.
Yeah. I mean, especially and as we move to the Red Roof Plus, first of all, what we packed in there is consistency. And all the Red Roof Plus properties are what we call upscale economy. And they have that ultimate consistency. But in the end, what Red Roof is, and I think what millennials are looking for, is the means to an experience. We are not a brand that we provide the experience. The expectation is not that you're going to come to a Red Roof Inn and hang out in the lobby all day long.
Yeah.
But what you're going to do is you're going to come and, as a result, you'll have an extra $100 in your pocket to do what it is you want to do.
Yeah, because I think about the times when I frequented more of the budget brands. It's not that I don't appreciate those brands. It's a lot of times stay at the conference hotel where the event is. But I think back to my 20s and when my buddies and I would go into the car and we'd go touring around New England, seeing fish shows and stuff, for example. And one of the things that I would love to do is not spend my money in a hotel and invest it in the experience of the neighborhood, the community. And that's kind of where we're moving now, all of travel. So how do you see yourself being the foothold of a community experience? Are you able to match the property with what's going on in the community, or is it more just being having a budget offering that's the gateway to the community?
Yeah, so one of the things we've recently rolled out is we rolled out an experience page for every single property, and we call it experience page for that very purpose. It's not just a property page, it's not just describing what's in the property, it's describing what experiences you can have around the property. And so every property has one. So as you're searching the web and you're searching hotels near, pick the experience, Riverwalk. We're gonna show ourselves in those search results because we are promoting that experience.
Right. Yeah, because to me that's a smart approach because as much as people like Red Roof, they're not saying, I want to stay in a Red Roof, let's see what city we could go to, right? They're saying, I'm going to want to go to XYZ for XYZ experience, and I'm going to stay in a Red Roof.
Exactly. If they want to stay at a Red Roof and they know that already, they're going to redroof.com, which is what they should do, of course. But if they don't know and they're looking for the experience, then we want to help them out.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And talking about helping them out, you guys are on a tear with international expansion and just expansion in general. Here in the United States, you have more than 500 Red Roof branded hotels. What an accomplishment. Congratulations.
Yeah, crossing the 500 mark at the end of the year was quite an experience, and it's been a long time coming. But now, the numbers are starting to fall quickly.
How does that feel to you as president of the company to get over such an important hurdle?
It is. There's a big psychological, it's one of those, the market has its bumpers here and there, and then they keep talking about it, and you sort of burst through, and it gets you the momentum to go move even more quickly. Everyone's excited. I mean, as you know, we've talked before. I'm passionate, but my staff and team are very passionate about Red Roof, its history, its culture, and what we can offer. This just rejuvenates that. Right. And it's really fun to see people doubling down on the passion.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And one thing you're passionate about now is the Great White North. Canada always feels like they're a little bit left behind when it comes to international hotel brands.
Canada for us is one of those odd things. You go, and we've done this before, ask the Canadians what they think about Red Roof, and they think we're in Canada. Right. Because we're in Buffalo and Erie and Detroit, and they've experienced Red Roof throughout their whole lives. So they're surprised to find that we aren't yet. But what we are now moving forward. We've hired a dedicated developer, Canadian. So he's from that Great White North, And he's up there as we speak, starting to work his magic, and I expect to see some properties even yet this year.
And I'm going to say that I bet you have more opportunity than the lower border cities. You have chances up north. Because what I've been doing is I don't watch much TV, but lately I've been watching this show called Ice Pilots, right? On Netflix. I think it was like
Alaskan Bush Pilots.
Right, all that kind of stuff. And it's amazing to me. They're up in places like Yellowknife and these Inuit villages, and then you see a small branded hotel in those communities. Right. And I'm like, I didn't know that there was even demand enough for something like that.
Yeah, and it is exactly that. In addition to the Torontos and the Calgarys, those small towns, especially, I guess I knock wood when I say this, but in the U.S., we're seeing fracking coming back, which just means some of the western oil regions of Canada that also have those small towns will start seeing a rebound as well. And there are so many opportunities for a branded hotel in each one of those smaller markets.
Are you looking at all new build, conversions, a mix?
Yeah, mix. I think it's a mix. I think that, at one point we were focused solely on new builds.
Right.
But I think the opportunity for new builds has become, it's a little more problematic. The cost of, even with the better, more favorable exchange rate, the cost of construction is so high in Canada compared to the United States.
Especially when you start getting up north and things can't necessarily be shipped in year-round, Which brings me to another good show, Ice Road Truckers, right? Where things can only be brought in the winter or else they have to be flown in.
Yeah, exactly.
So that changes the dynamic completely. But what about here in the United States? How do you see the new build development going? I keep hearing that money's there, money's not there. I'm confused at this point.
For economy, it's still tough because the replacement value, the equation is just really not there. Now, that's not to say we aren't seeing some, and we have a few new builds under contract, and hopefully we'll see the ground breaks this year. It still is not the focus, though. There are so many great opportunities for us on the conversion side, whether it's in the West or even still in the Midwest. 500 properties, that's still a small fraction of some of our competitors.
Right. Yeah, it is true, but you have competitors that have a lot more hotels in their system, but their name doesn't resonate as well with customers. So how do you leverage your great brand equity with customers to really start to deliver those reservations to the hotel owners?
Well, the most fun thing about working with Red Roof is everybody knows who we are.
Yeah.
And even though it's a bit of a smaller brand, our brand recognition is, as you say, as high as any. I always tell the story back in the last recession. Jay Leno told a joke. We were part of that joke, and he said that Paris Hilton, things are so bad she had to change her name to Paris Red Roof Inn, right? And you could take that in a negative sense. We certainly didn't. It's an economy hotel.
Yeah.
Well, we did take that as, though, everybody knows who Red Roof Inn is.
Right.
Because here's Jay Leno in California who assumes all his listeners or all his watchers know who Red Roof Inn is. And that's very fun. So how do we leverage that? We definitely on the sales side of things, when we knock on the door, people know who we are and they answer the door, and that gives us an opportunity. 25% of our business comes from our sales team. Right. Most of our competitors in our segment are more like 9 or 10%.
Really?
So that's a pretty strong thing. And just the nostalgia of the brand, I think, creates a stronger loyalty from our most loyal customers. They don't even consider. We all remember being in the back of the station wagon, driving to Florida, and stopping at the Red Roof Inn.
Of course, right.
No seatbelts, of course. But
no, and then for extra added fun, I usually couldn't see 2 feet in front of me because my dad was smoking so much with the windows rolled up.
Exactly.
Because he had the air conditioning on.
I always liked when we would fly on the plane and my mother would sit in the smoking section. I would be one row behind her, but somehow I was protected because I was in non-smoking.
I got to tell you, I'm a little freaked out when I got on airplanes and I still see ashtrays in the the armrests on the seats.
Yeah, that's an old plane.
Yeah.
You might want to...
For sure.
You might want to get relocated.
But a little road warrior tip for everybody. If you're wondering why there are ashtrays by the bathrooms, they still have those back there. It's actually a federal requirement to have them in case anybody does actually break the law and smoke on the plane. They've got to put them out in those ashtrays there.
Yeah,
right.
Our government at work.
Right. So don't think about necessarily that airplane is really old and decrepit, although if they have them in the armrest, then you're pretty much screwed and going down. But that's a story for another episode. But Andy, we're talking about your brand, you're being a nostalgia. So how do you remain nostalgic and play upon that, but also meet the needs of the modern traveler?
Well, I mean, staying nostalgic, I think that, part of that is in design and certainly in... There was a little bit of discussion on the panel this morning, the trade-off between human interaction and using technology to avoid human interaction. Right. And I didn't get a chance to answer that question, but for us, when we review our TripAdvisor reviews and we look at what when our customers rate us a 5, they don't rate us a 5 because the room was great. They don't rate us a 5. They want the room to be great. They want everything to work. But almost universally, they rate us a 5 because the front desk staff or the housekeeping staff treated them with great respect or went above and beyond.
Right. I think that's really what it's all about, Andy, is connecting with the people on a one-on-one level. Because all these hotel companies, all those guys that you were on stage with this morning, they're all really good at what they do. Yeah. So the only way to connect with the customer isn't through a fancy element in the room, it's through that people. Because I've always said... nobody's ever come back from the hotel except for some of my design friends and said, "Whoa, that's a great chair. Exactly. I got to go back to that hotel."
And that's nostalgia, right? Because good customer service and a high level of customer service is what people remember. We just want to keep it going at Red Roof.
But you got to have the basics in. And one of those basics today is good, strong Wi-Fi. And I still find it surprising to me, Andy, when I go to hotels and I can't watch that Ice Pilot show on my Netflix in my room. Nothing personal, but I don't really turn on the TV all that much, so I'm going to be streaming. And now you guys have a new program in a verified Wi-Fi system, which is interesting. Yeah. Gives that customer a sense of control over their Wi-Fi experience.
Right. So, as you said, you just don't know where you're going to get enough Wi-Fi to stream that video. And so we've embarked on a program where as our properties upgrade their system, and we expect to have 120 verified Wi-Fi properties by the end of the year.
Right.
We're going to send a third-party Wi-Fi company out to verify that they have streaming capabilities in all of the rooms. Here's I think somewhat a fun stat. Broadband usage across the United States, 40% of broadband usage is Netflix.
Yes.
Which is just a crazy number.
To clarify that, it's like between 8 and 11 at night.
Yeah, and hotel rooms.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm told by some of our television providers that at hotels it's more like 60 or 70%, which means you need to give the customer what they want, which is streaming Wi-Fi. And the only way to do that is to tell them which hotels have those capabilities. We've all been at the hotels where there's no capability, and then you pay for it.
Right.
And you still get very little capability. Yeah. So free is great, but fast and free is better. And that's what our verified Wi-Fi will be, fast and free.
And there's nothing more offensive than upgrading the Wi-Fi and you're still getting that chirp, chirp, chirp kind of a signal that you were referring to.
It's the number one guest amenity. When we did our survey, it's more important than breakfast. And surprisingly, it's more important than location.
Wow.
What does that say? People will drive by if they know they can get better Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I mean, I drive an extra mile or two to make sure that I can watch my programs when I tuck myself into bed at night. I like to just relax a little bit in the evening. I listen to podcasts that I love to listen to in bed and stream those kinds of things as well. But I neglected when we were talking about Canada and you're moving the system into new countries. We didn't get to talk about some of the exciting places that you're in. Brazil, Japan, coming to Thailand. I would not have necessarily expected to go to Japan and see a Red Roof. How cool is that?
Yeah, no, it's great. And the two properties we have open in Japan are fabulous properties. They've really gone above and beyond the typical Red Roof, and I think that's what we're seeing internationally in general, is the owners doing more than a typical Red Roof that you might think of a typical Red Roof here in the United States. But in each one of these locations, we've found a great partner, and they're pledging to move the brand forward. We have retained ultimate. We haven't done master development agreements, which means we've retained ultimate control over the quality, fit and feel of the brand. But we're having great experiences in all of those locations. We can't wait for Thailand to break ground next year.
That sounds like a lot of fun. You get to go to these places?
From time to time, we when you only have 2 or 3, you have to find your spots, because you send 10 people to Brazil.
Right.
You've blown the whole budget in one trip.
Well, if you do go to Japan, make sure you take me around, because I'd really like to go and have some real sushi over there for sure.
I'll keep you in mind.
Is there anything else I need to know about what's going on in the Red Roof world?
Well, just that this is a great time for Red Roof. The people who work for the brand have never been more passionate. And if you're looking to franchise or extend into the economy segment, there's no better brand than Red Roof Inn.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that. But before we wrap up here, you started as a lawyer.
I did.
Right? So I want to hear a little bit about how you go from that kind of world to running a hotel brand. That's an interesting and unique transition that I haven't heard of before.
Well, and it's even more interesting in the sense that my wife's a Cornell Hotel School graduate.
Really?
So how we sort of flip the cards on that.
Yeah. She became a lawyer halfway through her career.
Right? Probably. Yeah. Well, I guess I would say that when I was a lawyer in Cleveland at a pretty large law firm, what became very clear to me, the first step was that I didn't like working with multiple clients, giving them little pieces of advice.
Right.
I wanted to be a counselor and work with a single client. So that moved me out of the law firm into Renaissance Hotels. And once I was at Renaissance, the general counsel there, he was a hands-on operations kind of guy as well.
Right.
And so I guess we all learn from our mentors and look to move on. I've always seen things from multiple perspectives, which gives me a great opportunity to be in this type of role where I have to, you can't just be single-minded and focused on a particular solution. You have to be willing to be open to opportunities.
And that seems to have helped you really well in your position here.
It's worked so far, and we've been pretty innovative and are looking forward to continuing to explore new avenues.
How long have you been president over there now? It seems like I can't remember when you weren't.
Well, remember, the story for me was I became president in 2009, and I guess,
great timing.
I guess I would say it was the same month we defaulted on our loans.
Right. Well, at least you could blame that on the previous administration.
That's right. And so there were great opportunities that came out of those, but at least we grabbed those opportunities and made them happen, and the rest is history.
How difficult is it coming into a situation like that when you're really, thrown to the fire?
It was tough. I mean, that, if you recall, the banks were in a disarray.
Yeah.
There was foreclosures. For us, what was fortunate is that, in a sense, things were so bad that the banks were looking to really just run away.
Right.
And so what basically happened was they ran away, and new equity owners ran in. Purchased the brand at a cents on the dollar, and had some real money to invest. It was a roller coaster ride. There's no doubt about that.
I bet there's a lot of stressful nights in your life.
There were days you would think it would go, or nights that it would go one way, and then the next night you thought it would go the other way.
It must have been so hard during that period of time to picture that one day the market would shift and now we'd be here. 84 months of operational increases.
This has been, obviously, as everybody knows, an incredible run for the industry, and for the economy, but particularly the hotel industry. You know, the rest of the world, or rest of the United States, is looking for 4 to 5% growth. I've always been a fan of 2 to 3% growth, because 2 to 3% growth meant no supply. So we saw six plus years of steady growth with absolutely no supply to the industry. And obviously that's fueled the recovery and probably will keep it going for a few more years.
I think so too, and I hate when people say we need to have X percent of growth, because last year we had X percent of growth, but now so deep into this upcycle, 2% growth this year equal 10-15% growth in 2009, 2010.
There's definitely a compounding, and the fact that you have 8 years of 2% is not. It's not. You know, no one wants to say it's ideal, but somehow we got to near full employment in a different way this time than we did in other upcycles, and we'll see. I never want to say this time is different, because this time is not different. There's always patterns, and once this cycle's over, we'll look back and we'll say, I saw that. I knew what was happening. It's hard to see it. It's easy to see it in the rearview mirror. Hard to see it.
I agree. I find a lot of times in my life, I know what the truth will be, but I have a hard time getting it out and making the declarative statement.
Right, because we all put all our money in stocks in 2009, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I had no money in 2009, but
I wish I had, but you can't see the future.
But guys, if you want me to enjoy this upcycle, make sure you subscribe to the No Vacancy podcast. And hey, if you want to advertise on the show, that would be great too. Oh God, I love talking about this kind of stuff. This is so much fun, Andy. Andy, before we wrap up, any advice that you could give to some of the hoteliers out there or the road warriors out there to make their lives better, more interesting, improve their knowledge base?
Well, number one thing is look for verified Wi-Fi.
Yes, of course.
I think that this is a part of the cycle. While we're all cautious, there's still great opportunities out there. And as I said, knock on wood, fracking's coming back.
Right.
Our properties in those fracking regions are starting to see a recovery. So if you're looking for a good opportunity, some of those what appear to be distressed markets may be seeing a rebound.
Pretty sure fracking was a curse word from Deep Space Nine, or is it Babylon 5 or something like that? I know I'm a little off on my sci-fi, guys. You could write me at Traveling Glenn or Glenn at Rouse.media and let me know if I'm wrong, what TV show that came from. All right, so Andy, how can people find you? How can people find Red Roof? Give us a good plug.
Well, obviously the website is go to redroof.com, or if you're looking to franchise, and we're here at AAHOA, so hopefully some of you are, go to redrooffranchising.com and reach out to us in that way.
Great. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching, for listening, and participating in this great event I'm doing here from AAHOA live in San Antonio during our HOACon 2017. We're going to be back with lots more great interviews both later today and tomorrow. And if you're listening to this after the event's over, hey, you got the whole catalog of stuff. Listen to them now. Download them now. Thanks for being such supporting fans of the show. We'll be back.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at Rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.